Okay, this is exactly why you need to fact check. I am not a primary source. You guys should know better than to trust whatever I'm saying, and you should verify my work, as I did on myself. As the picture you just saw is a correction from what I'm talking about in the video. There are 33 degrees in the Scottish rites Freemasonry. The Grand Lodge, which is called the York rites on this one, that only has 12 degrees. And big difference. And and it must be understood that they were different. And so Joseph Smith rose to the third level, third degree of Master Mason, but of the York rites. The Nauvoo Lodge was originally York rites. Brigham Young took over, and it became Scottish rites, because that's where he was involved with, was the Scottish rites, not the Grand Lodge that the Smith family was. So big difference, and there were more levels to rise up in the Scottish rites, and so even still, the Warsaw Lodge members were furious that Joseph Smith was elevated to third degree on the very next day. You know, I think he was put in Fellowcraft first, and I think that's another correction that I need, but I wasn't able to find it when I was fact-checking me. But I believe I remember hearing that he was put in as Fellowcraft, which is second degree, not the initiate stage of first degree. And so, yeah, bad enough that he gets put in as Fellowcraft, but then the next day to be made elevated to Master Mason. Yeah, not a coincidence. And so not a that I go into it in the video. So I'll put the picture up again for you so that you can see, and then I'll put in the main video. Okay, it's Travis Wayne Goodsell, and this is part 5 of my commentary of Jessie's video, LDS Secrets, Freemasonry, the Occult, and Satanist Symbols. I still can't get over, right when breaking news hit, my computer alone in the whole universe was targeted and was shut down. It wasn't a crash. My old computer, I know when that crashes. That was crashing on a regular basis when it was overheating. So, yeah, this is different. Somebody attacked me. And I've had Russians following me. I've got my Credit Karma telling me, hey, your ID's been stolen and it's being used by other people. And Google notified me through Gmail that somebody hacked my Gmail way back in 2017, and it's still under investigation. And then Russians showing up on my website, and somebody one day is opening a file on my computer because I had my thing open so I could see my files, and I'm looking and going, hey, what's that file? So I click on it. Sorry, you need to be an administrator. What? So I go in, I'm an administrator. Nope, sorry. So I shut off my computer immediately, turn it back on, it's gone. And so, yeah, I'm being targeted. I don't know why. I know why, but yeah. So when you tell the truth, you become a target for the enemy. So just like with the church, apparently they're not getting the news that I'm a threat to them. So, all right, before I get going on this video, let's do a quick check to see how many Mormons have to leave the church now because they're putting thumbs down on my contest video. 14 hours ago, and we're at 45. Oh, still 4. So 4 Mormons have to leave the church because they argued against me unsoundly by putting a thumbs down with no explanation. That's unsound reasoning, and according to the deal, if you can soundly argue that the church is true, I will stop talking about the church being wrong. And if you can't, then you have to leave the church. That simple, Mormons. So the contest is on, and you're failing. But it's a great way to keep people from putting thumbs down. Alrighty. Okay, so let's get to the video. Now remember, when you're doing research, you have to isolate historical events. You can't generalize them together as all the same thing. You know, so the early 1800s, you can't just say, oh, it's all the same thing. No, you got to separate each event. Even though they may intertwine with each other, you need to separate the parts so that you can clearly see what's going on. And then go to primary source documents. You know, I can't emphasize that enough. The rock that the church is presenting is very nicely polished. Joseph said he found it in a well. You don't find rocks like that at the bottom of a well. You find the other rocks that South Park has been cartooning. And there were 2, not 1, that the church is now claiming that they're finally admitting to. There were 2. And so you got to go to the primary sources. The church is not a primary source. I'm sorry, Mormons. They're not a primary source. And then changing of definitions. I've tried to tell you guys over and over again, you can't change doctrinal definitions. Faith is only one definition. You cannot change definitions. And when you're dealing with history, when you talk about current definitions of things, you cannot impose them on the past. And this applies also for what's legal and what isn't legal, what's moral and what isn't moral. You can't use your current definition upon the past. You have to be independent. Look at it independently. So, yes, Mary, the mother of Jesus, 14 years old. Is that an abomination that she would get pregnant? Oh, no, of course. Christians have said it's immaculately conception. She didn't have sex. Yeah. So, now, so again, if you're going to impose today's morality in the United States, that 14-year-old girls is always an abomination, regardless of time period, you're gonna miss out on what's really going on. Because this was a development in our culture. It was not in the ancient cultures. That doesn't mean it was wrong. But then again, they raised their kids differently than we're raising our kids today. So that's just one example. And no, I'm not trying to justify Joseph Smith as having sex with a 14-year-old girl, because again, you're isolating and using secondary source material to believe that Joseph Smith had sex with his 14-year-old housemaid. Got to look at the big picture. Look at the context of who's saying it and why and when. So Joseph Smith was reported as having an angel appear to him, and if you don't start polygamy immediately, I'm going to kill you. Well, he does it in secret, only for a select group of people. And so he violated the angel's orders, but then doesn't get killed. And so, yeah, he apparently was doing it in secret? No, obviously not. None of that was true. Not the angel visiting, not him secretly practicing polygamy. It was, if you look at it, the first instance of the report came out in 1853. I've done that on my polygamy video, the series, 3-volume series. And that was the same exact year when Brigham Young got up at the pulpit of conference and said, we're now practicing polygamy. And used all sorts of justifications. Adam was a polygamist, Jesus was a polygamist, Joseph Smith was secretly practicing polygamy, and every Mormon who supported Brigham Young then talked about it. All of a sudden you get people saying, oh yeah, that's right, he was. I was one of the people he confronted, and he wanted to have sex with me. Yeah, this little boy of mine who looks like his father, not Joseph Smith. No, it's really Joseph Smith, I swear. And yeah, that's when the angel stories started coming out. Oh yeah, Joseph told me. Yeah, no. So understand the context. I know as critics of the church, you're so excited to hear these things that show that the church is false. I know, I understand. But focus it on Brigham Young. He's the source. Because other branches from Joseph Smith occurred also. And so Brigham Young is just a separate branch. You have to separate Brigham Young from Joseph Smith. His church was different than Brigham Young's changed church. Okay, so let's go back to Jessie.
Documented a continuity between Joseph's early occultic practices and the origins of Mormonism. This link extends to the development of the LDS temple ceremony. So the fact that he was involved in all of this, and
see, she's now calling it a fact. She's using secondary source material and calling it a fact. Sorry, Jess, that's not it. That's hearsay. Go to the primary sources. And if it's a person saying it, that's still not a fact. You need documentation, like the judge issuing the fine for Joseph Smith getting arrested for being a glass looker, a stone looker, a seer gazer, whatever you want to call it, a crystal ball person. So you see, it's a fact Joseph Smith was arrested. It was a fact that he was arrested for looking at rocks in a hat. It was a fact that he was fined $2.68 because it's a misdemeanor charge, which is a fact. And how do we know it's a fact? Because we have the evidence from the court itself recording the incident. That's how you do research. You don't just say, oh, so-and-so said this, therefore it's true. No, you don't need witnesses. If Manafort refuses to confess, you have to put the pieces together. And we already have all the pieces. And so I'm furious with Mueller right now because he's not going to indict the president. He is a coward. He has betrayed our country. Don't even get me going on that. Let's go back to Jessie.
Money digging and glass looking and all of that was absolutely associated with occult and looking for evil spirits and things.
See again, Jessie. Come on, sweetie. He had to do a cover story because you're leaving out the William Morgan anti-Masonic movement. You gotta put that in the mix. That's a missing puzzle piece that is crucial to this video of yours.
So we already know that in his background, and then the use of that while supposedly translating the Book of Mormon was very evident. And I want to now move to another topic. I mean, same topic, but this is really interesting. So historian D. Michael Quinn, who I just referred to, he outlines
secondary source
10 essential characteristics common to both occult rituals and the Mormon temple ceremonies. So these are the things that
Again, Jessie, it's Brigham Young who did this, not Joseph Smith.
Cult rituals and the Mormon temple ceremony have absolutely in common. They are revealed by God from the beginning, but distorted through apostasy. They place an emphasis on the worthiness of the initiates. They include washings and anointings, a new name, and garments. That's all in the Mormon ceremonies. They receive a new name in the temple, and that's the name you cannot tell anyone, and you have to keep it with you until your death. And that's
yeah. It's from Egyptian, dear.
Heaven one day. And then the temple garments, of course, Mormons wear. Some people call them holy underwear, but they're temple
magic
garments
underwear,
they wear on their
not
person
holy.
At all times. They have Masonic symbols on them, I will add. And,
Yeah, square and compass.
They are given those as they become temple Mormons.
She does a video on the
Back
garments,
to the
I believe.
list. They emphasize vows of non-disclosure. There are both lesser and greater rituals.
Yeah.
They feature
Apprentice and master.
presentation of the ritual through drama.
That was Brigham Young.
Contain an oath of chastity requiring strict purity and virtue of the participants. They feature prominent use of the sun, moon, and stars as key symbols.
Oh my God.
The purpose of the ritual is to assist mortals to attain to godhood. They employ titles and offices of prophets, priests, and kings to those in leadership. So isn't that interesting that
D. Michael Quinn is messing her up because he's not following the rules of research. Yes, he taught my sociology of Mormonism class at the University of Utah way back in the day. But he got that job because of the scandal. It's like when I worked at, when I went to apply to work at Burger King, I had on there that I had worked at McDonald's. They said, "Oh, you worked at McDonald's? Great, we'll take you." And so, "Oh, you were excommunicated from the church and worked at BYU in the history department? We'll take you." It's the same thing. So, yes, you've got to apply this to critics, all critics. And critics, you can't use critics to justify your position when they're not following these procedures.
we see all of those very, very clearly in the Mormon temple rituals, and you see those exact same things in occult rituals. Very disturbing.
Yes, it is very disturbing. All religions share a common process. There's theology, there's ritual, there's practice, there's doctrine, and did I say ritual? And what is it again? Theology, ritual, doctrine, practice. There's one other. What's that one other? I don't think I have it. I think I threw it away. But I did it in the video. All religions have to conform to those in order to be successful. The Church of Satan utilizes those rituals. They have a theology, they have rituals, they have tradition or practices, and they have doctrines, they have scripture. That's the fifth one. They have scripture, Anton LaVey, and all religions have this. That does not mean that because the Church of Satan has those, that therefore the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the same as the Satan Church. Because Catholics then have to be said, oh, well, Catholics too. And all of Christianity, oh, and Judaism, and all Islam, and Hindu. Those are the basic patterns of religion. You can't just say, oh, they have the same thing as the Church of Satan. Oh, no. No, don't fall for that, Jessie. D. Michael Quinn is not as smart as everybody thinks he is because he was excommunicated wrongfully from the church.
Let's talk about the Masonic symbolism that runs through the story of the discovery of the golden plates. Basically...
What about the Book of Mormon? There's all sorts of stuff in the Book of Mormon.
In the story of the Enoch myth of Royal Arch Freemasonry, this is their story within Freemasonry.
She's all excited. She's like she's found this great secret and she's exposing it.
And all of that.
So cute.
Listen to this. In the Enoch myth of Royal Arch Freemasonry, in which the prophet Enoch, instructed by a vision, preserved the Masonic mysteries by carving them on a golden plate that he placed in an arched stone vault marked with pillars, to be rediscovered by Solomon in the years to come.
You want to see Enoch's pillar? Let's see if I can. Right there, that one right there. Oliver Cowdery, when trying to do a surface translation, because Joseph Smith was working on the Book of Abraham side, and Oliver Cowdery was given the Book of Joseph, which is interesting because there's like a stick of Joseph in the Book of Ezekiel. And brass plates is in possession of the lineage of Joseph, because Laban had it because he was descended from Joseph, and so was Nephi and Lehi were descended of Joseph through Manasseh rather than Ephraim. But nobody's watching those videos. And so, yeah, Oliver Cowdery said, hey, that looks like Enoch in this pillar. Do you not see? It's all Freemasonic coding. And Oliver Cowdery tried to do it that way, and it didn't work out. It never got written, translated into the text like Joseph Smith did with the Book of Abraham up to facsimile number 2. Notice I said facsimile, not any of the text on the papyri.
The prophet Enoch would play a central role in Smith's emerging cosmology. Smith's stories of his discoveries got more elaborate with time. In June 1829, he promised Oliver Cowdery, David Whitmer, and Martin Harris that they would see not only the plates but other marvelous artifacts. The Urim and Thummim attached to a priestly breastplate, the sword of Laban,
The 2 rocks.
and miraculous directors. Oliver Cowdery and Lucy Mack Smith later described 3 or 4 small pillars holding up the plates. Everything about this story,
Lucy Mack was in
all
on it?
of the artifacts
What?
that they listed, they had Masonic analogs. And then Oliver Cowdery and his father and brother were Royal Arch initiates. Interesting, isn't it? Because they would have known all about that. And this then goes into this.
Jessie, sweetie dear. When you're initiated, you're at the bottom. You can give it whatever grandiose title you want, you know, like sanitation director. No, you're a trash man. So don't get fooled by titles. The Freemasonry has 32 levels, and they use a pyramid as their structure formatting. You start at the base as an initiate, and as I've already indicated in the other videos, Joseph Smith Sr. had known about Freemasonry because he was able to go to the lower levels where the public were able to freely go in and observe and watch, but they weren't initiated. If you show that you are truly serious and you want to be a part of it, then you get initiated. And that's the base level. You're a first degree, or royal whatever they called it that you read from a secondhand source. And so what Joseph Smith was made was first the entrance level of initiation, then the next day the Grand Lodge Grand Master Abraham Jonas made Joseph a Master Mason. That's only level 3. He skipped level 2 for Joseph so that Joseph could run the Nauvoo Lodge. And the Warsaw Lodge was furious with the Grand Master. How dare you have, you know, it's bad enough that you're giving them their own lodge, but now you're making Joseph Smith a Master Mason in one day. I've been coming here all this time and I'm still not a Master Mason. That's the fury that they had. And I saw that same kind of fury when I worked in the management training program at McDonald's. I was thrown in to a McDonald's on the outskirts of Lethbridge, and none of the workers liked me. They'd been working there forever, and they were still stuck as cashiers and cooks and cleaners. They wanted in on the management training program. And here I am, no experience whatsoever with working at McDonald's, and now I'm in the manager training program? They were pissed. But they wouldn't let their bosses know it, but when I was left alone with them, they let me know it. And thus the need to go to Burger King. Yeah, you gotta understand, Joseph Smith becoming a Mason was no big deal. Everybody does it. You get taught according to the level you're at. The public viewing, very minimal stuff. Anybody can go. You can be of any religion. You can be male. You can be female. It doesn't matter. It's intended for a boys' club, so it's going to be a little awkward if a woman shows up. But there have been, over the course of time, women Freemason lodges. But don't be fooled. It's a man's club, the boys' club. And the more loyalty you show, the more faithfulness and loyalty, the more you rise up in level. But it takes time. You've got to demonstrate loyalty. You can't be like Joseph Smith and just get elevated to Master Mason. You've got to have a Master Mason already in place to establish a lodge. And so what the Grand Master did was unprecedented. But level 3 is not level 32. And some of you are saying, well, what about the 33rd degree? Well, then you haven't done your research, have you? That's an honorary title. It is not a level. There's only 32 levels. Those who are 30 to 32 can be recommended by someone who is a 33rd degree Mason. And they can be given an honorary title by them at any point along the line from level 30. So it's like an honorary doctorate at a university. So understand, that's where universities get it from. They too come from the ancient religious ritual performance, where you go, you get learning, and then you graduate, you have robes on. You know, Nibley even was able to recognize that and gave a talk at BYU on that subject. So even he was smart enough to figure that out. So understand that just because know your history, as was the title of my comment video yesterday. So you can't isolate historical events. You can't just dismiss things or not research them and then declare what's truth. Okay, we're running out of time here. We'll see if we can, how far we can go with this.
Story of the discovery of the golden plates. I don't think that we can ignore that. So that's a huge tie between Masonry, again, and Mormonism. Gerald and Sandra Tanner.
Okay, we'll stop there because she did an editing where she's now putting in a new video segment and merged it together, but I saw the blip on the screen. So yeah, yes, I told you the Book of Mormon has coding in it. It's not a coincidence they called it gold plates. It's not a coincidence that you have Jews who become the Indians that America meets. The British meet, and the Spaniards meet, and the French meet, and whatever. Not a coincidence that they're saying, hey, these are us. Let's not kill them. And so, yeah. Because, no, I have to go into a whole discussion on that. It involves the Nathaniel Rothschild and the whole Illuminati plot and the westward expansion and the extermination of the Indians on the backs of both Chinese and black slaves. So, yes, that's why the Book of Mormon was written. And it was started to be written the very next year after the anti-Masonic movement, because they weren't able to do much with the investigation going on, and especially with everybody burning temples. So they had to wait until all that died out, and lo and behold, September comes around. And when October goes, the same old dream appears. There's no theme song. Okay. So we'll end it here, and looks like the other video is done. So we'll publish that, and we'll have to call it a night, I guess, because I've got 5 comments. Well, a couple of them are new subscribers, so I gotta have dinner, and so we'll call it a day, and we'll continue tomorrow with Jessica's a commentary on Jessica's video. Ay vey, man. Okay, unbelievable. And yes, notice I did a video warning about Wednesday the 27th. Did I not? And what's going on right now? The Mueller report is finished. People are going to demand to know what's in it. Republicans want to know that Trump is innocent. Democrats are going to want to know that Trump is guilty. And they're going to be pissed that Trump is not getting indicted. And they're going to demand Trump be indicted. And the Republicans are saying, it's all a hoax. You're trying to take out Trump, who is put in by God himself. And then they'll fight, because that's what they're doing now. They're the white supremacists who are escalating the violence in our nation. And so they are going to attack the Democrats. And it's just going to be total chaos because Mueller was a coward and didn't do his job. All right. Let's save this video. Come on. Do what I told ya. Okay, and share it. Pinterest. So remember, 27th. It's a significant date. I know nobody believes it because nobody does their research. And thus came the video. Mormons are experts because they know nothing. You can't claim to be an expert on truth when you don't know the subject. Okay. Unbelievable. Let's see if we have one more. We'll just drag this out for a little bit here. Enter to win. 46. Nope, still at 4. Alrighty. Okay, and then sign out. I should have saw the time just in case I didn't. It should save my thing. So, alrighty. Robert Mueller, PBS NewsHour. Robert Mueller, CNN. AOC death threats? Oh man. So Young Turks are talking about everything else but the Robert Mueller thing. And then the opinion of the Washington Post. He's talking about Robert Mueller. So everybody's talking about Mueller except for the Young Turks. You know there's going to be hell to pay this weekend if Barr comes out and says, you know, I'm going to take 9 months to work on what gets revealed to Congress and thus to the American people. There will be hell to pay, because that puts us right into the presidential campaign. And you know Trump is going to be furious as well. He's going to want it out. Get it out. And he wants him to cover up anything that speaks negatively on Trump. Because if it comes out during the campaign, Trump will have to fight it off. So yes, we're going to go through hell. Okay.